Get some waters before we start for all of us.
Is it on that?
I know.
A green light or yes, fine. Hello?
Yeah, there it is.
Wow, it was off.
All right.
Who's up first? First
Get
question.
this rolling.
When you guys started your companies and businesses, did you ever think that you get to the point where they are today and like seeing the support that you guys have and then seeing how fast that they've grown and all the support you guys have, like what's your reaction to how quickly things have come to fruition?
I go, this guy manifested everything, 10 years ago, and then I saw that was wild. But I didn't think, slow and steady wins a race, That's kind of my thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. So I think if you go into anything expecting to be like the next best thing, I think you're really going to set yourself up for failure. And I think one of the most beautiful things about starting a business is starting it and it being really fucking hard and learning all of those things as you go. And all of those lessons are taught by going through them. So no, your answer is, the answer is no. I never thought any of my companies would be as big as they are. But I also always believed in myself enough to know that if I worked really fucking hard at something, that I could get to where I want to be. So it's like a double-edged sword, right? It's like a yes or no answer. But I think the best advice I could give any of you guys is like, don't compare like your day one to Raw's year 2 or Alpha Elite's year 10 or, not 10, but year 3 or 4. It's just, you're going to really fuck yourself. So as long as you don't do that and you just put in the effort every day, you're going to make yourself proud.
I want to get into bodybuilding when I'm older. I'm only 15 right now. So like, what advice would you give to me like for my future?
Chris.
I mean, the only thing I ever say to young people is just don't stress it and enjoy it. Like, when I started bodybuilding really young, I didn't have social media. I didn't even want to compete. I just loved training. And I'm assuming you do too. That's what's driven you to be here and to have the aspirations to compete one day. So just stick to that. Continue to enjoy what you do. Don't even, if people are telling you to do something that's like more optimal, but it's not even what you want to do right now, fuck it. Just like do what you want to do, work hard at it, and continue to improve day by day. Because bodybuilding can be super fun. It can also be stressful, but you have to continue to remember why you started and just enjoying it. You love the gym, you love pushing yourself, you love being better. Just do that day by day. And like Dom said about the business, don't compare someone's day one to their day whatever. Don't look at me and be like, I want to look like Chris tomorrow. No, just look at yourself yesterday and try to be better than that tomorrow. And just slowly, step by step, continue to get better. Because that's really all you can do.
And progressive overload.
That's
Absolutely.
Yes.
I got a question. So, what is the most difficult part of physical preparation for a competition?
The mental part. The physical part of prep, I think, is usually, we can all train, we can all diet. It's more like mentally staying stable through the highs and lows and being consistent with it regardless of all external things going on. So making sure you can just control the variables within your control and focusing on that, and everything that comes in kind of the chaos, you kind of have to let it flow. But I mean, the boring answer of that, I guess the hardest physical part is the diet. No one likes to diet, everyone likes to train. So just like I said, keep your head on straight and pushing forward.
Yeah, right. Thank you, man.
So my question is, so I'm an adaptive athlete. I train with the prosthesis device. My biggest question in the gym or just like day-to-day life is, as I'm in the gym, I see people, give me looks, have their own opinions. In bodybuilding, I'm specifically powerlifting, but in powerlifting, bodybuilding, we all go through prep. Outside of, how do you guys deal with people's opinions based on what your actions are currently, and like kind of just how do you deal with that, like the looks, the thoughts, the comments?
Are you talking about negative people?
Just negative, positive, just kind of.
Well, fuck the negative people.
Negative. Yeah, I get that.
Short answer. Yeah, I mean, not everyone's going to like you, and your goal should never be for everyone to like you. Your goal should just be to stick your course and be you. So if your goal, like I said earlier, if your goal is for people to like you, you're going to fail. If your goal is to be yourself, you're going to win. So just focus on that and fuck the rest of the people who don't support you.
Amen.
And if you're in the gym and you know you're getting looks or whatever, if you're doing something taking too long on a machine, but like literally just like treat the equipment well, treat the staff well, treat the members. If you see them, just don't scoop down anything, do your thing, and like that's all you can really do. And honestly, like staying in your zone. No one's really looking that hard at other people. It's like if they are, they should get it. They're doing it wrong. You know what I mean?
So I feel like one of the biggest culprits in training is overtraining, and for the last couple of months for myself, I feel like I've fallen into that a little bit, where I'd go for a period of time, maybe like a month or so, and then it would be like that week after, like that 5th week where I'm just like dead and like taxed, like systemically a lot. So I'm just wondering, and this may be geared more towards like for you, Matt, like if you have a client come up and tell you that, like what you might implement for them in a program.
So what you just said, I think if you can bring it back, because ideally if you're training with the goal of progressively overloading your load, driving reps up, driving weight up within the same rep scheme, whatever that might be, like if you're getting to that 5th week and that's where fatigue really starts to accumulate, then what I would recommend you do is drive through week 4 and then purposely deload and try to catch it before that fatigue starts to dump over and you start to lose training progress. So if you deload in week 4, then you should be able to continue that cycle rather than having that week where you really fall off. I mean, this is something that I used to do within my training. I would really try to pick the week where I would notice like fatigue starting to pick up in the gym, but not outside of the gym, because if fatigue picks up in the gym and out of the gym, that's when you're starting to push past that threshold. So start to pay attention to that, your internal biofeedback that you have there. Catch it right before you kind of drive over that ledge of too much fatigue, and then you really should be able to start to drive progress long term without that week of falling off.
How do you guys balance attention to detail and bias towards action? Whether it be clothing, supplements. Christian, especially you with Alpha Elite, you guys have gone through so many logos and types of clothing. I mean, I'm just really curious about that.
That's a damn good question. Man, I almost think if I were to look at Dom, right, and say this is a detail oriented, but he's a big picture, right? And it's like you get it done, like, right?
Yeah.
And
So
versus,
I would have to say, like, and I know you're the same way. We're very similar in this aspect. Like, we are detail oriented, but we're also the people who are like visionaries as to like we get the shit done, but then we have like a team of people behind us who are cleaning up our shit as we go. So, I mean, agreed? Yeah.
I would say more so. Yeah. I mean, and my thing is by spending too much time on certain things, which like, literally in a conversation, or if I'm in any sort of environment, I can tell when I'm like, okay, this is I'm starting in my head, I gotta get out of this. I have other shit to do. It's not worth the time versus like it's not worth it, right? What I'm spending time on. I would say the biggest thing is like learning to really invest the time into the management, into building the team, instead of into, you still need to be detailed or else your brand you're going to miss so many of the things, right? But if you're not, you also need to voice like your thought process of how you get where you're getting. If you're like critiquing a logo in your head and you're like, oh, these are the comments, it's good to have somebody, if you can explain why, how you're getting that feedback and like getting that written down, to have somebody kind of learn how you would give feedback. That's the key right there. So like writing it down, getting it like, how did my brain go there? Why am I saying that and doing what I'm doing? And then you have something like a handbook. That's where you can start really delegating, right?
Yeah, you need people, man. Like, there's no one person that can do all the stuff that requires to be done for a huge company, right? So I think one of the biggest things that I'm grateful for is I have a team of people that does know what I want, expects, it knows what I expect, but I'll still have issues where like they'll do a great job of building this whole entire thing. Like this is like a perfect example is I have a grand opening of one of my medical offices next weekend, and they did a fucking incredible job of like planning the grand opening, doing everything right. And then like the catering, like I didn't like the catering company. I was like, fuck, like you guys fucked this up. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, that's super detail oriented. It doesn't really matter. But at the same time, like it matters to me, right? So you have to pay attention to the small stuff, but you also have to be able to delegate a lot to other people, because it's not possible to do all of this on your own. And you have to be okay with people fucking up along the way, because not everyone's going to do it as perfect as you would or the way you want things done. And it just takes time. It takes years to get to that point. But once you have it, you truly feel like you can do so much more.
and communicating, right? Like if you don't like it, being sure, like, hey, amazing job. Hey, side note, this is just for next, moving forward. Let's change that cater. Like voice it.
Positive reinforcement and then correcting the problem.
So I had a question. Well, it's basically for everybody on stage right now. First off, shout out to Chris. Shout out for just wearing what you have and making it kind of cool for people with, some things they don't wear on their forehead. Sometimes they do. You're making it cool for people to kind of, okay, cool, I can do this too. Like you wear it on your sleeve, you make it more relatable. So I wanted to thank you for that. Shout out to Christian. Nice surprise. But I wanted this is for all of you guys. This is for Matt and Dom and Chris and Christian. How would you guys describe the guys to your left and right? And in a few words, how would you describe them? I mean, there's a level where we want to live up to, we want to be reliable. We want to be like when people are asking about us, we want to be known as reliable. So, hypothetically, how would you guys describe one another? Just how would you describe one another? Thank you.
Specialist, expert at his knowledge, and but quiet, kind of more. You're quiet, right? Kind of but you're like, oh, I'm like, damn, all right, that's a mansion over there. Huge picture, an executor over here. He can just execute shit and get shit done. That's C-Bone, man. That's Chris. But I'll say no. But for real though, this is a real ass person. Like you can tell the fact that he gets nervous, and I get nervous too on stage. But when you're up here earlier, you never asked for everything that's there, right? So it's but you hold it fucking well, which is you're a real dude, man.
I'll try. Matt's definitely silent and methodical. He's always thinking, always observing. No one 5 steps ahead of people in his head. He knows what's going on, and that's how he's a great coach and a great father too. Dom is a fucking combination of a bull and a teddy bear. He's generous and loving, but can be a beast sometimes, because he gets shit done. You need to get something done, he's got it done. You'll whisper in his ear, and a year later it's done, and you never have to ask him again. It's always done. But reliable, great word. Christian is a little bit of a jack of all trades. I call him you can be a chaos hurricane sometimes, a little chaotic, but an absolute visionary. Being able to elevate anything, get a big picture across, build a beautiful community, build one of the coolest gyms in the world, one of the greatest fitness companies, and build a community of people around it, a culture around the brand, and just something really cool behind it all.
All right, I'm gonna go. Matt, I see as wisdom. I feel like I can ask him anything, and he has a fucking answer for it. And it's always the answer you really don't want to hear, but I think that comes when you become a dad. He just knows what the fuck to say. And then for Christian, I would say definitely visionary comes to mind, because if you guys know Alphalete and you guys know that brand, that he made that brand before that brand was even cool, right? He thought of that before people thought they were going to like it. And now everyone's obsessed with it, but he's he knew that shit was going to happen, right? Alphalete, same thing. He had that in his head, and now it's there and people are obsessed with it, but he knew that shit was going to happen before it happened. So I think that is something that's super unique. And then Chris is just unapologetically himself. And I think that is something that it sounds so easy to say, but to be able to be so comfortable in your own skin that you just really have absolutely no problem saying anything, loving people for who they are. It's just, it's so unique and it's so rare. And I try to, people ask me all the time, would you do this with any other influencer? Would you? And the answer is no. The answer is absolutely not. Chris is the only person I would have done this with. And I'm just super grateful to have him as part of our family.
I'll start with Christian first. So last year we had the opportunity, many of you guys know, to go to Alpha Land. And I've always said, a lot of people say you can't fake passion. So we got the opportunity to get a tour by Christian, go into his office. But what I noticed is he was so passionate about this project that he had. And he was also passionate about us coming in there. And that's just something you can't fake that. You can't replicate that. Talking from an ownership perspective, he was wearing so much on his sleeve because he knew how much that weekend was going to mean to us. And then obviously kind of the unveiling of the gym to all these new people, so a visionary is an incredible word to use, because what he's done within the culture, within the community in Texas was awesome. So just seeing that, because I think how how we handle and manage stress is a part of what makes us successful. And he obviously had a lot on him. And he actually talked about like needing to be a better delegator of tasks, but that's also part of being passionate about something, is just not wanting to let go of things that you really care about. So I just really respect that about you last year. And then just the other two guys up here, like, it's one thing, and the word family is thrown around so much, but we truly are that, you know, on the back end. I know these two guys would do anything for my family. There was a conversation I had with one of my friends. I'm going to try not to cry, but my friend talked to me last week, and he said, I know that if I were no longer here, that you would take care of my family. And I think that's the real definition of family, you know? So if I'm not here, if something happens to me or if something happens to these guys, like stepping in and truly being involved in the next generation of their life is what really matters. And I know that I have that with them.
So as entrepreneurs, you know, we start in businesses and, you know, we fail or we have low of lows, right? So as entrepreneurs of you all, you know, did you have any specific instances where you had those lows, and how did you overcome them?
I could start on that one if you want. First ever women's launch for Alfleet. Worked on it for so long, right? Sold 3 bras, 3 units. Literally made a joke. I was like, I'm gonna go deliver these myself. Where are they at, right? Like, I'll walk, and that it was just so demotivating. Just like, not even financially. It's just like, you know, that sucks too. But it was like, fuck, I just put so much. Like, that was huge. And if I would have just stopped there, like, you know, it's just wild that you just have to keep. You have to be able to listen. Okay, for the people that did buy them, what do they truly think? What do we want to see? And just have to keep trying, because then once you get something that hits, it's like it all ends up making sense, right? But yeah, that was a good example.
Yeah, my first medical office I opened, it was in Stuart, Florida, and I opened it, and I remember I had no money after I opened this thing. I was fucking broke, like broke, and I remember sitting outside of it, and there was no one in it. It was fucking dead. There was just my employees, and I called my mom, and I was like, "Yo, I think I fucked up. Like, I think this shit's not gonna work, you know?" And she's like, "Are you fucking crazy?" She's like, "You just opened." She's like, "Figure it the fuck out. Like, make it work." And I remember it, and I was like, "Damn, like, I can't believe mom just said that to me." So I was like pacing around, and I was like, "Fuck it, like, I'm gonna figure it out." And this was like before, you know, social media marketing was popular. It was like just Facebook ads were like just getting hot, and I did whatever the fuck I had to do. I figured out how to do Facebook ads on my own. I built this, you know, these funnels. I didn't even know what the fuck a funnel was, and I'm like figuring it out. I'm stealing pictures from fucking Google Images, and I'm just doing all this stuff. And then, you know, looking back at it now, we're the largest, you know, medical franchise in the United States. With, you know, we'll have almost 400 locations by the end of next year. And it's like, how the fuck, you know, if I would have quit at that moment, which I actually thought I was going to quit, like I was for sure about it. And that was like one of the best learning experiences of my life, because it's just, you figure it the fuck out. Like, there's a way to do it, figure it out. You know, don't quit on the first sign of failure. And if you can just not quit, like, you'll figure it out. Like, you will. You just can't fucking quit. So that's mine.
I think too, one of the things that makes us successful within our office is like, we leave the day at the end of the day, and every day is a new day. So we don't we have very hard days. We have days where very stressful things happen, you know, where things go wrong, but we don't ever bring it into the next day. And that's something I really, again, appreciate about both of the guys that I'm up here with, you know, in terms of our internal structure, like our core group and then all the people that work with us, it's a very, very positive environment. So even within failure, even within things that don't go right, like, we don't just let that drag on from one day to the next. It's almost like every day is a brand new day, and we forget about the last day that happened, good or bad. You know, I've also said this before, like, we don't celebrate successes, and then we don't also get overly down on failures very often, you know. And I think that's one of the things that makes us successful as a company, is that we're always just striving to move forward, whether it's good or bad, and not just getting overwhelmed or caught up in that.
This question is specifically for Chris. We talked in the earlier sessions about balance in the business, and obviously you work in a bunch of different areas, you know, bodybuilding and raw and social media and stuff. You do a really good job documenting on social media and YouTube. your Olympia process, but how does that process affect your ability to follow up on your responsibility to the company, if at all? Obviously, you're able to document on like YouTube and social media while you're in prep, but does it hinder your ability to still work with Raw and the company in general, or do you have to take a step back from the company to be able to focus mainly on that bodybuilding portion?
I mean, I'm definitely not as involved as I could be if I didn't have anything else going on, but like the number one secret to success is a good team. And I really like, I could disappear and these guys got everything, you know, like we have roles amongst our team. And like over the last year, it's been crazy to see like the amount of people who have stepped up as leaders on our team. You know, Calvin came down a year ago, and now he's like running our full creative. Sebastian used to be in the warehouse. Now he's the one like organizing part of this event. Dan Bella just moved down out of nowhere. AJ's our tech guy who's got cameras on his back. Everything. Like our whole team does a million different things. This is not even including Matt and Dom who run the company. So I can literally know that I could disappear and step away. And I've never been fully involved with every aspect because that's not my role. But when it comes to the Olympia and I'm like 4 weeks out, they literally told me, they're like, don't fucking come into the warehouse. Like, nap, sleep. You need to win the Olympia. Like, focus on your shit. You don't need any of our stress. And there was a bunch of problems going on, and they didn't even tell me until after. They're like, I didn't want you thinking about anything. You had to focus on the Olympia. That's because they know the importance of that to me and the importance of that, honestly, to the brand, too. So we have trust, and I trust them with fucking absolutely everything. I have no worry of taking a step back or even needing to be overly involved because I know we have such a great team that is helping us. And when I was leaving my previous company, my goal was to like have a supplement company of my own. Everyone was like, do it yourself, own it yourself. You could start your own company. You could do it all on your own. And I was like, no, like absolutely not. And none of us would be here today. A company wouldn't be who I was. I wouldn't be who I was if it weren't for these two right here. And I literally, he said he wouldn't do this with anyone else. I wouldn't have done it without anyone else. And I'm just so grateful that we have the team we do. And yeah, I can't stress that enough.
Just to jump in really quick too, I've been around a lot of high level bodybuilders, and Chris's ability to be present, and not to allow situations that so many other bodybuilders would just like fly off in a tizzy about is incredible. You know, like not only because of the pressure or so-called pressure and his social media presence and just the amount of people that know who he is, you know, but like the day-to-day things of like meal timing and things like he's just unbothered by all this stuff. I mean, it really is like awesome to be around because again, I've been around a lot of these guys, and I've seen a lot of guys that are very successful, but I've also seen a lot of guys that stress every detail to the point where like they don't even really truly enjoy bodybuilding or the people they're around or anything. And Chris has been able to just mentally take it to another level where he is able to achieve the success that he has with being unbothered by things that most people would be very bothered by.
I think a huge thing of balance, people think it's time, but it's really mental. Like, I know like Matt in like a big show, you could have 10 clients in a show and not sleeping, but mentally you love it. So for that week, you're still balanced, even though your life isn't. Dom could have the launch of fucking 3 clinics, a broad job, chaos going on, manufacturing problems. Christian could have God knows what going on with Black Friday, Christmas sales, and chaos going on. But like it's what he loves to do, and his balance comes mentally in his mind, not from his time, because he loves what he's doing and he's enjoying it and he's choosing to be there. So it's not so much people being like, do you have enough time for this, X, Y, and Z? Like, figure out the little things you need to keep your mind balanced mentally, and then your time doesn't have to be. You're young. If you want to have no fucking free time, hustle. Doesn't mean you need to have free time to be balanced. Just enjoy it and make sure you're actually being present and enjoying it.
That word balance too, like that is so dependent on you to determine what balance means to you. Like, don't let anyone else tell you what balance should be, right? Because if you're enjoying love and like if you're loving what you're doing, but people call you fucking crazy, guess what? Fuck off. Right? Like truly, if you you just have to. It's all dependent on the person and just what you find enjoyment in, right? And peace. Like, yeah, really.
I think a lot of people use the word balance and correlate it to time. And those two words don't necessarily mean the same thing, right? So you can be mentally balanced, like Chris is saying, and everyone's always like, oh, how do you balance this? And it's like, all you're thinking about is like, how do you manage your schedule? And it has nothing to do with that. So if you can actually just manage your balance of your life with every aspect of it, you just get shit done. I don't know. You figure it the fuck out.
First off, I would like to thank you all for talking just in general. I'm just extremely grateful to be around here with my friends. Just joined the ambassadorship about a month ago. But I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to be here. My question is for all four of you. As a man who's been to counseling recently over perfectionism and who's had their mental struggles in the gym, I see a lot of people in the gym, and my message is to be more comfortable around being yourself in the gym, because a lot of people get the fact that their perfectionism or their body dysmorphia in a way affects them and how they treat people, or how they talk to others, or how they treat themselves for that matter. What do you guys go through, and what is your advice for those athletes going forward who want to improve themselves mentally?
That's a big can of worms for sure. I'm personally someone who, for a long time, felt like for me to even communicate and ask for help, that I was a burden, and that like I would be putting my stress onto other people, and I didn't want to have that effect on others. And I'm just now learning, thanks to my fiance and my therapist and the beautiful people in my life, that being able to like just communicate about things and put your problems on others, first of all, they want that. People around you who love you feel closer to you when you like communicate with them and put your shit on them. They actually enjoy that. You're not a burden to them, and I'm working on learning that. But it also just makes you feel better to get it out there. You don't need solutions. You don't need to solve problems. You just need to like sometimes communicate it. Allow yourself to feel the stress that you're feeling. Because another thing I did for a long time is like, I felt something, just suppress it down, don't feel it, push it away, pretend it's not there. And that just lets it build. It's like this monster in the closet that's causing all this stress. But if you actually are able to sit with it, communicate about it with people who care about you, and actually allow yourself to feel those emotions, they're not as big as you think they are, and they kind of slowly will fade away.
I go to therapy for 2 hours every week, and it could be, I could have no fucking problem at all, and I'm still going, because I think one of the best things about therapy is that you get comfortable talking about your problems to somebody, and when you start doing therapy, you're talking to someone who you can confide in, right? Like, they ain't gonna say shit to nobody. They're not allowed to. But I think after that point of you getting comfortable talking about the shit that's going on in your head, I think you get more comfortable talking about it with your friends and, with your family. And I think no one is meant to have all that shit inside them, right? Like, it's not meant to be like in this like aggressive ball that's going to explode at any moment. And I think that once, especially as like, I don't want to say especially as a male, but like guys are like, oh, don't go to fucking therapy. You can figure it out. Like, don't be a bitch, whatever. It was the best thing that I ever did, and I think that my life changed dramatically when I started to do that, because I just like got rid of a lot of negativity that I was putting on myself, and I put these like unrealistic expectations on myself. And I think it was literally one of the best things I ever did. So kudos to you, man. You did it before I did, for sure.
I think too, like, our society is so driven by social media right now, and that's one of the things from a coaching perspective that I really try to do, is just try to like just mentally help my guys, because in all honesty, like, a lot of the professionals that I work with, they don't really need me. I'm more so like a governor, and one of the main things that I help these guys with is like not being a glutton for punishment on social media, so them posting things or seeking out videos about themselves or just being in a realm of negativity or just consumption about what people are saying about them all the time. Now, granted, they might have a lot of followers, they might not have a lot of followers, but we all can be doing this on our own level, so basically seeking out and finding problems for yourself that you don't have to have. Another thing that I do too, like, I enjoy listening to a lot of podcasts, but I don't listen to anything in the bodybuilding realm. And this isn't out of like arrogance or whatever, but like, I don't want my viewpoint and my belief system to be altered by other people within what I'm doing, so that could be subconscious, that could be consciously, like hearing people in the background saying, oh, this is how I approach this, or this is how I approach this. And then me questioning my own thought process. So just not allowing all the awesome things, whether that's social media, whether that's podcasts, where, any type of media realm, to just constantly be consumed, and not allowing those things to be a part of your every hour, every waking moment ritual. I think that can help, because 20 years ago, there's a lot more mental health issues that are present now because we're always consumed by things on our phone. And not to say that mental health issues weren't present then either, but the self-consumption that people are ingesting or digesting on a daily basis right now is just, it's insane. And it doesn't have to be that way, because it's like you are a glutton for punishment of just constantly seeking it out. So just being aware of that.
Whenever you feel overwhelmed, put your phone, put everything fucking down. And if you can't, like, as soon as you can, go outside, go for an hour walk, right? Or just go for a drive, right? You realize that the world's still going on, right? Everything's still moving. People are still, things still happen. Things are going to happen regardless, whether you do or succeed at the stuff you were, stressing about, those higher expectations you kind of put on yourself, or not. Or if you fall asleep for 3 days and miss the week, like things still go on. Things find a way to, continue just cycling. It's like you're in the big scope of things. You have to remember, like it's such a small thing when you really look at everything continually moving. So just don't let, stress is a huge one. And phones, and technology is like, you have to be able to detach and be okay detaching, because you'll just stay in your head.
From a business standpoint, is there anything you guys have taken from Raw or Athlete back and forth or communicated that you guys have taken, either ideas or business ideas for like launching merchandise or how to marketing, that you guys have taken from each other?
I never really get to talk too much about any of that stuff.
I mean, I think that if you look back at it, like we said earlier, like Athlete definitely pioneered a lot of like fitness clothing drops, like all that stuff started so long ago by Christian. So to say that nothing was influenced by him would probably be a lie. But I would say like we're not trying to like steal his leggings and put Raw on them by any means. So no, but yes and no. I guess that's the right answer to the question.
I think like the one thing I learned, and I'm learning right now also, is like teams aren't always bad. Like I have had bad experiences with partners, and that may have just like deterred me from like ever wanting to like really like, I kind of set limitations. I don't have time. I have too much on my plate. But just hearing how you guys talk about each other, like the team you guys do have, and the success of that relationship, like that's wild to me, man. Like it gives me hope that it can work out. Like so yeah, we're constantly learning, I think. And even like, I'm like, damn, so you guys have like an ambassador program? Like, what is that about? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't directly taken from it, but it was kind of a mutual goal. I've heard Christian say that his goal was to have the Alpha Elite page bigger than your own, which you did. And then it was to have people like recognize the brand and not know who he is, because he had built the company to be bigger than himself. And that's something we've all spoken about up here. Something, just a dream we all share as well, where we want like Raw and its message and what it stands for, and all you guys and stuff to be so much bigger that like it gets to the point where all this message is spread and people don't even know who we are, but they're still following the same dream and passion and everything that we stand for. So something that Christian has accomplished and he's still building, and that we're working on and chasing after as well.
It's gonna be really fucking hard with your following. You realize that, right?
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah, it's a little hard, but we'll see.
I can go, right? Another question for everybody. At what point did you guys build the belief? Like, at what point did you realize that whatever your definition of success is, what point did you realize that I'm going to make it happen no matter what?
You need that before you start, man. Like, in all honesty, you can't get into a company like not believing in yourself or not believing in what you want to do, because you're just going to fail. And that's the honest truth. You can't go into anything. It's like, imagine waking up and getting ready for the Olympia and prepping like you're going to lose it. I mean, I don't think Chris ever wakes up on a Tuesday and he's like, oh, I'm going to lose the Olympia this year, but I'm going to fucking train arms still today. Like you just got to expect to be great and do everything you fucking can to get to that point.
I think it comes in like baby steps too. Like I didn't wake up at 18 years old and be like, I'm winning the Olympia today. I didn't feel like that, but I was like, I want to compete and I want to win my show. And I won that show. Like, okay, I want to win nationals. Okay, I won nationals. I want to turn pro. I want to go to the Olympia. And then I got to the Olympia, and I was like, fuck, maybe I can actually win this thing. So it was like a slowly build of how big the dream was, but it didn't start as like I'm going to be Mr. Olympia. It was, I want to win a show, period. Or it was actually, I want to compete and look good. And then it was just driving bigger and bigger dreams, bigger and bigger goals, and the whole way through believing in yourself, because as you get better, the dreams get bigger, you get better, you work harder, and you just grow, because that's what life is about.
I'm gonna tell a story about Chris. I don't know if you guys have heard this either. What year did you come to Alpha Elite Gym? Like, you remember 2018 or 19?
19.
How many Olympias did you want at that point?
One.
So at that point, we were hanging out after, right? So how many like you think you got in you? He's like, man, honestly, like I don't know. I'm taxed, man. Like I don't know. Like he goes, I don't know. Like I'm just spending on hell. I don't know. And you didn't know, bro. You didn't know. It's always just focus on the next one. See how you feel, and then right. And so it's like. That's wild.
Yeah.
That he thought he didn't have any more. He could potentially not have more in him there. right? Like
That was like a week after the Olympia too, so I was like, fuck, I fought do that again? You kidding me? That was hard.
I think you also have to like realize like fear and believing in your journey or believing in what you can do are different. Like we were all scared of starting this. I'm sure Chris was scared of trying to become Mr. Olympia, but if you're not scared about something, you don't have the passion for it, right? Because you're scared to fail, and being scared to fail is not a bad thing, right? That means you have passion to fail, and that you don't want to do it. So I think that a lot of people confuse those two things. Like, yeah, I had faith in myself when I started everything I did, but there was not one company that I started that I wasn't petrified the first bit until it got going and I started figuring it out. And it comes with the territory. If you're not scared about something, it's probably not something you're passionate about.
And you may not be thinking or dreaming big enough because like you have to, you'll be shocked at what you could do when everything is on the line. That's for real. Like you can do so much more than you're capable of. You can delegate, you can decide quicker things. You can be quicker at this, sharper at that. You can really elevate and evolve when shit's on the line. And so you have to be okay putting things into existence, putting yourself in a kind of riskier kind of spot, man. You shouldn't know, I could win that one. I'm going to do it. You have to put yourself in challenges to see if you can do it. And if you can't, just try it again. That's it.
All right. We got time for one more.
First, I just want to say thank you guys for building a culture and an environment that's welcoming for everybody and all beginners to advanced and pros. My question is, what quote or mantra has stuck with you guys through your journey from beginning to now?
Rest later. Rest later. Rest for the proof.
I would probably say that the biggest one that stuck with me is set the standard. And it stuck with me because of how it has evolved. It initially was purely like set the standard, be the best. And like, and it was kind of like an unsustainable vision. And then it slowly became almost into like set your own standard. You're setting your own standard at which you hold yourself to be the best version of yourself, because in this, like Joe said when he was up here, not everyone's going to be Mr. Olympia, but that does not mean you're a failure. If you show up and you give your all and you're fucking progressing, becoming better, and like putting a lot of work into something, and you're still successful at that if you're enjoying it and you're good at it, you don't have to be the best in the world. So the whole set the standard thing was literally first time I said it was I was going to set the standard for what classic physique is. And then I did that, but it's also, I'm not going to do that forever, but it doesn't mean I'm no longer setting the standard. I'm setting my own standard to be the best version of myself for my own goals, not what others put on me. So what other people put on me is out of my control. I have nothing to do with that. But what I decide to do for myself is fully within my capabilities.
I'm going to fuck up the quote, but it's something like your parents didn't work like that hard for you to be mediocre or something like that. I forget exactly how it says, but that was mine because like my parents, we grew up like not, wealthy by any means. And I watched my parents work their ass off to give me like everything that I not necessarily needed but wanted. I got a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have had, and they went without a lot of things to give me things that I probably shouldn't have had. So it was like always like I'm gonna do whatever the fuck it takes to like return the favor, and that's what stuck with me.
I don't think I necessarily have a quote, but I think one thing that I want to get across is it's important for your why to evolve over time. And much like Dom, like my initial why and why I wanted to work so hard is because of the work ethic that my dad gave me. And then you become responsible for other people, whether that's the athletes that are depending on you. I wear like a lot of that burden on me. And then I have a wife, I have a wife that needs me. I have a wife that I want to support. And then I have kids that have come into the picture. So it's like my why is continuing to evolve. And then in 2020, I decided to move down to Florida and, just jump into this thing full steam with Dom, and that's another reason to a why. So now a company's depending on me. My business partners are depending on me. So just understanding that like your why might start in one place and then might continue to transition or might go in a different direction, but never losing sight of what that why is. And if you don't lose sight of that, within your, whatever that journey might look like for you, whether that's college right now or whether it's, your first job out of college or wherever you guys might be, just like not losing sight of what that North Star, what that why is for you what gets you out of bed every morning, whether you want to get out of bed or not. Like, never losing sight of that. To me, that's what continues to drive me forward.
So when starting your guys' business, what was one of the biggest learning curves for you guys?
Oh my God. They never stop. Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest learning of them all is no matter what level you're at, just starting out, or if you're, having your record-breaking numbers, being able to still remember to evaluate, tear it down, evaluate, break it down. What could have been better? What can I do? And how can I listen to feedback? The good, the bad, if there is no bad, and it's like perfect, it's like you still have to be able to truly look at what you can do to make things better and evolve. Like, if you just stop evolving, I think that's the biggest, right? Just being able to truly evaluate and try to.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone who works for me knows this, but especially the content team and the sales guys, they are amazing at what they do, right? But at the end of the month, I have a meeting with all of them, and I tell them what they can do better in a positive way, because obviously they're doing a fucking phenomenal job. But at the same time, it's so hard to be able to look at someone and be like, listen, you fucking kicked ass last month, but this is how we can make this better. And it's like, it's hard to give that advice to somebody, because it's like, you're great, but not great enough, right? That's not the answer that they want to hear, but it's also the only way to progress as a company, right? Like, if I said, great job, you guys did it, or the goal is to do this every month, what happens in 2 years? We're the same fucking company we were 2 years ago. So it's hard to delegate and to balance the ability of giving people positive reinforcement for doing a phenomenal job, but also giving them the tools or the push that they need. Like, last month, I messaged both of our sales guys, like, hey, we're down in this. We need to bring that up for the end of the month. If I didn't send that text out, I don't know if it got done, but they doubled what they did the month before because I sent that text out. So it's in everybody to get better. Everyone wants to be better, but sometimes you just need that little bit of reinforcement. And I think that, as you grow a company and as it grows, and people from the outside are like, this is the fucking best company in the world, and you guys are so successful and this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, but we can be better. And delivering that message in a positive way is really fucking hard to do.
Just to kind of add to that, I mean, Dom did a great job explaining that, but there's always the evolution of a company is never ending. I mean, manufacturing, as you grow as a company, there's always more to learn in manufacturing. There's always hurdles to learn in manufacturing. I mean, on the way here yesterday, that was something that we were dealing with. But I think for us, we're very internally motivated and driven, and a constant conversation that happens among the three of us that we're always having to actively work at is to learn how to better manage people. Because that's not something if you look back at all three of us 7-8 years ago, we were starting to be successful on our own, but we had nobody underneath us. So this is a new skill set within this company that we're having to constantly learn, challenge ourselves with, self-reflect on how we can be better with our own communication, with managing people underneath us. One of the best and worst things about me, my wife always says, is the expectations that I have on others. So learning to verbalize that, not placing such high expectations on other people that they can't reach, but more so communicating and again, putting it back on me, putting it back on us, how we can better effectively manage people underneath us to get the goal accomplished is something that we're always striving to be better at.
I had to go change my shirt before the break because I was so sweaty, right? And I went to the mall so fired up from just coming and seeing I was, holy shit, that was so sick. How Christian introduced 10, I was so energized. I'm just I can't wait to get home and do this, and try this and implement, what if we did that? All these ideas get going, and there's nothing wrong with the way we're doing, our athletes. It's going great, but it's just, you can always evolve things, right? You can always, there's levels to this shit, man. And I think that's, more than critiquing, and it's evolving it, right?
And I think the question, like you said, is what are hurdles, right? And you might look at these and be like, these aren't really hurdles. These are ways to get better, but these are hurdles. These are bigger hurdles than, learning how to understand manufacturing or learn, because that's easy to do. Once you learn it, you get it, you move on to the next thing, you learn it, you move on to the next thing. But losing an ego and being able to understand you can be better at something is probably one of the biggest hurdles that every single one of you is going to go through at one point in your life. Because if you don't go through that, you're going to be stuck in the same fucking place forever, right? Like I've been told by some of the most successful people in the world, you're not going to be as great as you can be unless you let yourself learn from people who are better than you. And I know a lot of people who are incredible at what they do, but they could be so much better, but they just choose to not listen to anybody and they're stuck. That's the only way to get stuck. And that's a fucking hurdle.